Happy New Year, everyone. 2018 is now behind us. It was a pretty good year for films. It was not mind-blowing, and I remember kind of being slightly apprehensive when I was making this video last year. But this time around, I am so confident that 2019 is going to be an absolutely awesome year for films, and that is evidenced by some of the films that I'm going to be talking about today. Now, a couple of things to say before we start the list. This is actually going to be a top 12 and not a top 10 list, just because there are a couple of films that I kind of want to talk about a little bit more in detail that, I wouldn't be able to if they were just kind of honorable mentions. Also, I'm going to be limiting the list to films that are actually going to be coming out in 2019, because we've got some films like Denis Villeneuve's Dune, which would have been like number 2 on the list, but I'm not actually sure if it's coming out this year. I believe it might come out 2020 because they are filming it this year, but they haven't even assembled most of the crew. We've only had like 2 cast members, so I'm not entirely sure if that's going to actually come out this year. But again, if it did, it would be like number 2. So a couple of honorable mentions before we start the top 12. Now, we've got 1917, which is a new Sam Mendes war film. We've got Zombieland 2, Toy Story 4, which got pretty close to being on the list. Godzilla King of Monsters. The trailers for that film have been amazing. We've also got Glass, which is coming out in like 2 weeks. We've got Joker, which is a really interesting film. It also kind of got pretty close to being on the list. I do really like Joaquin Phoenix. I think he chooses really interesting projects. Also, if you've seen War Dogs, then you know that Todd Phillips can make a good film if he tries. Final honorable mention is Kingsman: The Great Game, which is the prequel to Kingsman. It's also going to be directed by Matthew Vaughn. I think it's got like Ray Fiennes in the lead role or something. Excited for that film as well. Now let's get into the top 12. At number 12, we have... What do we have at number 12? Okay, John Wick 3, which is just shaping up to be such a badass, fun action film. I'm just excited to return to the world of John Wick. I remember being so pumped at the end of number 2. So excited to see what Chad Stahelski brings to the table as a director, what kind of new set pieces he's going to bring. However, I do feel that it's going to be very hard for any pure action film to top MI6, because that was just a masterpiece. Number 11 is Us, which is a new Jordan Peele film. Now, I am very excited to see this film, but similar to another filmmaker who's going to pop up in the list later on, Jordan Peele is one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now. Everyone is talking about him. He's definitely working in the spotlight, which wasn't the case with Get Out. Get Out, he was just able to make it under the radar, and it was a big surprise for everyone. But there are a lot of high expectations going into Us. I'm just hoping that this is going to be a Jordan Peele film and not some political message. At number 10, we have Velvet Buzzsaw, a film that most of you guys probably don't even know is going to come out this year. But this is the new film from Dan Gilroy and Jake Gyllenhaal, who of course brought us Nightcrawler in 2014, which is one of my personal favorite films just of all time. And this is a film about this kind of weird supernatural force that is affecting like the art world or something like that. It sounds absolutely crazy, but if anyone's going to pull it off, it is going to be Dan Gilroy and Jake Gyllenhaal. It is a Netflix release, which might turn off a few people, but just judging from some of the previous Netflix films we've had, like Roma, and another one which is going to pop up on the list, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I think it's more important to look at who's making it than who's distributing it. And anyway, moving on to number 9. At number 9, we've got Ad Astra, which is a new film from James Gray, who is a kind of an on and off director for me. He made a film called We Own the Night, which I thought was a fine crime drama. He made The Immigrant, which I thought was amazing. And then he also made The Lost City of Zed, which a lot of people said was underrated. But I thought that film was visually stunning, but it kind of felt bored. Like, I myself was not bored when I was watching the film, but the film itself kind of felt like it wasn't very energetic or enthusiastic about its own existence. But here he's making a sci-fi space film with Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones, Ruth Negga, Donald Sutherland. We've also got Hoyte van Hoytema doing the cinematography. For those of you who don't know who he is, he shot Dunkirk, Interstellar, Spectre, Her, one of the best cinematographers in Hollywood. And to top that off, we've got Max Richter and Thomas Newman, I believe, doing the score. Again, for those of you who don't know, Max Richter composed this piece from Arrival. At number 8, we have Little Women, which is a new film from Greta Gerwig. Now, she directed my second favorite film of 2017, Lady Bird. And similar to Jordan Peele, as I said, she is one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now. And so I am really worried that she's just going to make like a feel-good, please-everyone film, as opposed to a sort of more personal, intimate, powerful film like Lady Bird. But just like Jordan Peele, I do have a lot of faith in Greta Gerwig both as a writer and a director. We've also got an amazing cast. We've got Meryl Streep, Emma Watson, Laura Dern, Saoirse Ronan, Timothy Chalamet, Bob Odenkirk. It's a really great cast. It is a period piece, so I do hope that they don't go super sensible, that they do take risks with the filmmaking. But yeah, that is Little Women at number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Joe Wright's Women in the Window. Joe Wright, of course, directed Darkest Hour and Atonement. He's a pretty great director. And from what I've heard about it, Women in the Window seems to be this sort of Hitchcock-esque mystery thriller with Amy Adams in the lead role, I think. We've also got Gary Oldman and Julianne Moore, so a great cast. We've also got Bruno Del Bonello on cinematography, who shot The Ballad of Buster Scruggs last year. But he shot Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is, in my opinion, the best looking live action film of 2018. And we've also got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross working on the score. At number 6, we have Jon Favreau's Lion King, which I'm just beyond excited for, because the original Lion King is my favorite animated film ever. It's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. It was certainly my favorite film growing up, and I think might be the film that I've seen the most amount of times. I haven't seen it in like 5-6 years, so I have to watch it before I see this one. But back in 2016, Jon Favreau did such a good job with The Jungle Book. That film had so much magic and energy and heart, and hopefully he's able to bring that to The Lion King, which is it's a property that is so near and dear to my heart. We've got James Earl Jones coming back. We've got Hans Zimmer doing the score. I mean, so many people putting their heart and soul into this film, and I'm just so excited for it. Hopefully, it's good. I know for sure, though, that it's not going to be as good as the original, just because, it's like the Incredibles 2 situation. No matter how great Incredibles 2 would have been, it's not going to be as good as Incredibles 1, just because I grew up with Incredibles 1. So many people did. And I feel like that's the same thing with Lion King. No matter how great Jon Favreau makes it, we're going to enjoy it, but probably not on the same level as we love number 1, or at least that's what I feel. Number 5, we have Star Wars Episode 9. Now, this is a weird position. It's a weird film to talk about right now. I feel like we're in such an awkward position as Star Wars fans right now. Because, Solo came out, and love it or hate it, most of us have probably forgotten about that film completely. I know that I have. And I feel like with The Last Jedi, everything that could be said has been said in many different ways, in many different levels of anger and passion. And I feel like no one really wants to talk about Last Jedi anymore.
Hey, this is Ryan Johnson. This is Ryan Johnson.
And so we're in such a weird position with the Star Wars universe. We don't know what it's going to be called. J.J. Abrams is directing, which I think is good. Hopefully he can bring some energy and excitement back into the world of Star Wars and kind of leave the trilogy off on a high note. That's really all I'm hoping for. I'm not even hoping for like a mind-blowing ending. I just want to end on a high note, with all the fans together. So yeah, Star Wars Episode 9 at number 5. Strange positioning. I think I should definitely be more excited, but I'm not just yet. But anyway, so at number 4, we have Knives Out, which is the new Rian Johnson film.
Ryan Johnson.
Wait, before you dislike and unsubscribe, yes, this is a film that's written and directed by Rian Johnson, but it is like a modern day whodunit, like The Hateful Eight or Bad Times at the El Royale. But before you go crazy, let me read you the cast, okay? We've got Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Michael Shannon, Christopher Plummer, Ana de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, Lakeith Stanfield, Toni Collette, who in my opinion gives the best performance of 2018. Like, this is one of the best ensemble casts I've ever seen in recent memory. It's certainly one of the best non-Marvel ensemble casts. So that alone is just making me excited for this film. So let's just move on to number 3, which is The Irishman. This is Martin Scorsese's upcoming film. And it is a Netflix release as well, like Velvet Buzzsaw. For some reason, not a lot of people have actually been talking about this film, which I find to be ridiculous, because Martin Scorsese, in my opinion, is one of the greatest filmmakers who have ever lived. He's probably like top 3 for me, with it's like Hitchcock, Kubrick, and Scorsese. Or like maybe Kurosawa and maybe Spielberg. Anyway, Martin Scorsese, he truly is one of the greats. He's never, ever, in my opinion, made a bad film. Color of Money was probably the closest he ever got to making a bad film. I think that film's just kind of okay. New York, it's fine, but usually Scorsese makes either great film or masterpiece. And I feel like the 2010s have really been a decade of experimentation for Scorsese, because he did like Hugo, Shutter Island, Wolf of Wall Street, and then he made a sort of really super personal film with Silence. And here he's making probably the most Scorsese film ever. It's based on a true story crime drama which stars Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Joe Pesci. It's just very, very, very hard for this film not to be at the very least great. Moving on to number 2, which is Avengers Endgame. Now, a lot of you are probably slightly shocked because you probably expected Endgame to be my number 1. But anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. Avengers Endgame is the culmination, as we all know, of the MCU, the first chunk, the first 10 years of the MCU. A lot of questions are going to be answered. A lot of character arcs, relationships are going to come to a conclusion. I am not prepared for this film. Emotionally, physically, I'm so excited for it, and yet I'm already dreading this conclusion. So yeah, I feel like I will be doing a couple of videos leading up to Avengers Endgame closer to its release date, so I'm not going to talk about it too much here. But let's talk about number 1. I think most of you are probably wondering, what film could I possibly be more excited for than Avengers Endgame? Easy answer. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my god. This is Quentin Tarantino's new film. It's his 9th film. And Quentin Tarantino, like that name alone, would put it at number 1. And he has made a film which he has said is most similar to Pulp Fiction out of all of his filmography. And it's set in the backdrop of the Manson murders. And it's a film that in many ways is about films. I believe that this is going to be Tarantino's tribute to old Hollywood. And he's got a pretty damn great cast helping him out with that. We've got Leonardo DiCaprio giving his first performance since his Oscar-winning role in The Revenant. We've got Brad Pitt. We've got Margot Robbie, Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, the classic Tarantino crew. 2019, guys, is going to be such a great year for films. And not only films, TV series as well, because we've got Stranger Things, we've got Game of Thrones. Like, April of 2019 is shaping up to be arguably the greatest April in the history of Aprils for entertainment, because we've got Endgame and Game of Thrones coming out in the same month. As of right now, my single sole purpose in life is to stay alive until the end of 2019. Because if I miss out on Endgame, if I miss out on Game of Thrones, if I miss out on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if I die before the end of 2019...
I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
But anyway, guys, that was the list of some of my most anticipated films of 2019. I hope you enjoyed it. I am just insanely excited for this year. Both in terms of films, in terms of TV, it's going to be a great year, hopefully. But anyway, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. Happy New Year once again. Thank you.